Somewhere in the black, freezing water of the North Atlantic, a Russian nuclear submarine is moving through the dark. It's one of the newest, quietest boats the Russian Navy has ever built. Inside, the crew is confident of one thing above all. Down here, in millions of square miles of open ocean, no one can possibly find them. They are invisible. They are wrong. Thousands of feet above them, an ordinary-looking passenger jet, a Boeing 737, the same airframe that flies you on holiday, banks over the water and drops a line of small sensors into the sea. And without ever knowing it, that submarine begins to make a sound on a screen. A contact. A track. From this moment, it is being followed, and it has no idea. Here's the part that's genuinely hard to believe. The entire North Atlantic Ocean is not guarded by thousands of ships. It's held by a mere handful of hunters. And those few hunters are so good at their job that Russia's submarines increasingly cannot slip past them at all. So who are they? The small group that keeps watch over an entire ocean. Let's meet them one by one. The first hunter is the one that found our submarine, and it's the star of the whole show, the P-8A Poseidon. From the outside, it looks almost disappointingly normal, because it's built on the airframe of a Boeing 737, the most common airliner in the world. But inside, there are no rows of seats. Instead, it's packed with some of the most sophisticated submarine hunting technology ever created, and a crew of operators hunched over screens instead of passengers. Here's how it hunts. The Poseidon carries dozens of devices called sonobuoys, small tubes it drops into the ocean. When they hit the water, they deploy underwater microphones, listening for the faint sound of a submarine's machinery and propeller, and radioing what they hear back up to the aircraft. The plane can lay out a whole field of these buoys like a net made of ears, then circle above, building a picture of what's moving in the dark below. And it can do this for a very long time, very far from home. The P-8 has a miss, ion radius of well over 1,000 miles, and can stay on station for hours, patiently working a patch of ocean. Its range means a handful of them can cover a staggering amount of water, which is exactly the point. When it finds a target and needs to strike, the Poseidon isn't just a spotter. It can carry lightweight torpedoes, the Mark 54, and drop them from the air to attack a submarine directly. But its real power isn't the kill shot. It's the sharing. The instant the P-8 has a track, it can pass that submarine's position in real time to every friendly ship, aircraft, and submarine in the area through a data link. It doesn't just find the enemy, it tells everyone else exactly where the enemy is. And this isn't an American secret weapon alone. The United States flies it, but so do Britain, Norway, and Germany, all hunting the same waters, often flying together, sharing the same picture. A small fleet of these jets, spread across the North Atlantic, forms the top layer of the net. The second hunter works the surface of the sea, and it's a warship designed from the keel up to do one thing better than almost anything afloat: hunt submarines. It's called the Type 26 frigate. What makes it special is quietness. To catch something that's straining to be silent, you have to be silent yourself. Because a noisy ship both scares its prey away and drowns out the very sounds it's trying to hear. So the Type 26 is engineered to run extraordinarily quietly. Its machinery isolated, so it barely whispers into the water. Then it listens with powerful sonar, including arrays it can stream out behind itself on a long cable, trailing sensitive listening gear far from the ship's own noise. The nations building these ships are betting enormous sums on them. In one of the largest defense deals it has ever signed, Norway agreed to buy Type 26 frigates from Britain, a deal worth around $13.5 billion, giving the two countries a combined fleet of at least 13 of these submarine hunters to patrol the North Atlantic together. That's how seriously they take the threat under the water. But the frigate doesn't hunt alone. It carries a helicopter, the MH-60R Seahawk, and that helicopter is a hunter in its own right. It can fly out ahead of the ship, dip its own sonar into the sea, or drop its own sonobuoys and carry torpedoes to attack. A submarine that tries to slip away from the frigate on the surface suddenly has a helicopter overhead, dropping sensors right on top of it. Ship and helicopter work as a pair, one slow and patient, one fast and far-reaching. The third hunter is the most secretive of all, and the logic behind it is beautifully simple. The best thing to catch a submarine is another submarine. Above the water, everything gives you away eventually. A ship makes a wake, an aircraft can be seen or heard. But another submarine can do the one thing the others can't. It can hide in the same darkness as its prey, completely silent, completely invisible, and simply wait. NATO's attack submarines lurk in the deep near the routes the Russian boats must use, listening with their own advanced sonar, saying nothing, revealing nothing. This turns the hunt into something eerie, a silent duel in the black. Two submarines that may both know the other is somewhere nearby, each straining to hear the other first, each desperate not to make the sound that gives them away. The hunter submarine can trail a Russian boat for hours or days, tracking its every move, and the Russian crew may never know they were followed at all. It's the invisible catching the invisible. And it means that even if a submarine somehow slips past the jets in the sky and the frigates on the surface, there may still be something waiting for it in the deep. Something exactly as quiet as it is.
Now, here's the part that turns a handful of machines into something far more powerful than their numbers. On their own, each hunter has a weakness. The aircraft can't stay forever, the frigate is slow, the submarine can only be in one place. But together, netted into a single team, they cover for each other's gaps, and that's what makes them almost impossible to escape. Picture how it actually plays out. A P-8 lays its field of sonobuoys and picks up a faint contact, a Russian boat entering the area. Instantly, through the data link, it hands that track to a Type 26 frigate steaming into position. The frigate launches its Seahawk helicopter, which races ahead and drops fresh sensors right on the submarine's projected path. And somewhere down in the deep, a friendly attack submarine quietly moves to cover the exit the Russian boat would use to slip away.
The submarine that thought it had vanished into a vast, empty ocean is suddenly inside a web, and every strand of that web can see the others. The aircraft knows where the frigate is. The frigate knows where the helicopter is. The submarine below knows the whole picture. They share one continuous, real-time map of the hunt, updated the instant anything changes. That's the secret. It was never about flooding the ocean with ships. It's about a few superb hunters, each doing what it does best, all wired into a single shared picture, so that the moment a submarine makes the smallest mistake, everyone knows at once. And if all of this sounds like a war game or something from the Cold War, it isn't. It is happening right now as you watch this. In the spring of 2026, the British military revealed that it had just spent more than a month doing exactly what we've described. Russian submarines were found operating close to British waters. Among them, an Akula-class attack submarine and two specialized boats from a secretive Russian unit that works around the deep-sea cables and infrastructure on the ocean floor. So Britain hunted them. Its P-8 Poseidons flew more than 450 hours over those weeks, laying sensors and tracking the boats from the air. A warship shadowed them across thousands of miles of sea. For over a month, those Russian submarines were watched, followed through the dark, their every move logged, and they were never able to shake the hunters off. That is the reality beneath the surface of the Atlantic today. Not an occasional drama, but a constant, quiet, around-the-clock hunt. As one Norwegian defense official put it, speaking for the whole alliance, We follow them 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and we do not lose those submarines. But step back for a moment and ask the bigger question. Why go to all this trouble? Why keep a permanent, exhausting, around-the-clock hunt going across an entire ocean year after year? Because of what those submarines could do if no one were watching. Down on the floor of the Atlantic run the hidden veins of the modern world, cables carrying almost all the internet and financial traffic between continents, and pipelines carrying energy. A submarine, especially those specialized Russian boats built to work on the seabed, could cut them, and the effects on the countries above would be immediate and severe. We've already seen unexplained damage to cables and pipelines in European waters serve as a warning of just how vulnerable those lifelines are. And in a war, the stakes climb higher still. If a conflict ever broke out, Europe could only be reinforced and resupplied across the Atlantic by sea from North America. Russia's submarines exist in large part to threaten exactly those crossings, to cut the lifeline before the help can arrive. Which means the hunters aren't just playing tag under the waves, they're keeping open the single most important supply route in the Western world. And notice what the hunt actually achieves. The point isn't really to sink these submarines. It's to deny them freedom, to make sure they can never operate in secret, to slow them down, to channel them into watched waters, and to turn their greatest asset, their invisibility, into a problem they can never quite solve. So let's come back to the paradox we started with. How can a mere handful of hunters possibly hold an ocean as vast as the Atlantic? By now, the answer should be clear, and it's a lesson that goes far beyond the sea. It was never about numbers. You do not need thousands of ships to watch an ocean. You need the right hunters in the right places, wired together so tightly that they function as a single organism. One Boeing 737 can sweep a colossal patch of sea in a single flight. A few silent frigates can anchor whole regions. A single attack submarine can guard a choke point no one else can reach. Put them together, sharing one picture, and their reach multiplies far beyond what their small number should allow. A large fleet working in isolation would still leave gaps a clever submarine could slip through. A small fleet, perfectly coordinated, leaves almost none. That's the whole idea. Not overwhelming force, but overwhelming awareness. The hunters win not because there are many of them, but because nothing moves through their ocean without at least one of them knowing. So, back to that Russian submarine we started with, gliding through the dark, its crew certain they can't be found. Above them, a converted airliner is laying a net of listening devices across the water. Somewhere over the horizon, a silent frigate is turning onto their trail, its helicopter already in the air. And below them, in the same black water they're hiding in, another submarine may be matching their every move, saying nothing. They think they've disappeared into the biggest hiding place on Earth. In truth, they are surrounded by a handful of hunters who already know they're there. That's the strange, quiet truth of the North Atlantic. It is one of the largest, emptiest, most forbidding spaces on the planet, and it is watched, constantly, by a small group of remarkable machines and the people inside them. Not with a giant fleet, with a few superb hunters netted together, covering an entire ocean between them. The Russian submarines keep getting quieter. The hunters keep getting sharper. And somewhere out there tonight, in the cold and the dark, that patient, invisible chase is still going on. The way it has, without pause, for longer than most of us have been alive. Because in the end, the ocean is enormous, but there is nowhere left in it to be truly silent.